Hey everybody, welcome to notes number 8, where we are continuing the conversation of fractions. So in our last lesson, we looked at multiplying and dividing fractions. Remember that when you multiply, that's when you go straight across, top and bottom. When I divide, that's when we keep, change, flip. We kept the first fraction, we changed the sign to multiplication, and we flipped the second fraction, which then just returned to multiply straight across top and bottom. We also used factors to simplify. Remember, we found numbers that both top and bottom had in common, the factors that they had in common, and simplified until we couldn't go anymore. This is where we use the GCF, greatest common factor. Well, in today's conversation, we are adding and subtracting fractions. When we add or subtract, we have different steps, right? Different operations has a different process. The biggest thing to note that if you're going to add or subtract fractions, you have to first have a common denominator. I want to add parts together, but I have to have the same size parts in order to do that. So let's say I have half a circle and a quarter of a circle that I want to add up. Well, I can't just say that 1 plus 1 is 2 because they don't have the same size parts. My half a fraction and my fourth of a fraction have to be measuring the same size before I can put them together. So to get a common denominator, we're actually going to use the least common multiple. So if I look at my denominators 2 and 4, 2, 4, 6, 8, multiples of 2, 4, 8, 12, multiples of 4, I want the least common multiple to be my denominator. What that means is this circle in its 4 sections is already good. But this circle, I need to cut it in half again to create my 4 sections. So what I really have here, rather than half a circle, I'm going to call it 2/4. So if I have 2/4 and one more fourth, I end up having 3/4 in all. So what you might have just noticed is that when I have a common denominator, what we will do is we will add or subtract the top of my fraction. 2 plus 1 makes 3 parts. And we keep that common denominator common. So the common denominator of 4 needs to stay common, stays as 4. So let's go ahead and do some examples. Number 1, 5/13 plus 6/13. Because I'm adding, I have to have that common denominator, and the common denominator will stay common. Then I just add across the top. 5 plus 6. In doing this, 5 plus 6 is 11. And common denominator stays common. Once we get done with our adding or subtracting, we do need to make sure that we can't simplify. 11 and 13, if I come over to my formula sheets, notice that 11 and 13 only show up in the same list with the number 1 row. What that means is the only thing I could divide out of it to simplify would be a 1, which won't change anything. Let's try another one. 5/12 minus 7/12. I already have a common denominator, so common denominator will stay common. And I need to just add or subtract across the top. So I have 5 minus 7. Well, 5 minus 7, right? The bigger number is that negative, two different signs, gives me a -2, right? Different signs means I subtract. 5 minus 7 is 2. Keep the sign of the bigger number. And that common denominator of 12 stays. Double check. Can I divide anything to simplify? So technically here's your answer, but it's not simplified yet. So can I divide or remove anything out of both 2 and 12? Y'all, if you're not sure, look at your list. Well, there's a 12, but I don't have a 2. There's a 12. Oh, and a 2. Because 12 and 2 show up in the same list, what it means is I could divide a 2 out of both of them. So I can divide a 2 out of both to simplify. I still have my negative out front. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 12 divided by 2 is 6. The simplified fraction is -1/6. Number 3. I have 2/3 plus 5/6. Now, here's the problem. Those aren't common. So let's have one of those least common multiple conversations. 3, 6, 9, 6, 12, 18. My common denominator is the number they have in common. Notice I can never go smaller, only bigger when I'm looking for that common multiple. I'm going more. So what this means to me is that my first fraction, the 3, this one needs to change. However, because I'm using 6, the second fraction already has the denominator that I need. So let's rewrite and give ourselves a little space here. In order to get the common denominator, if I already have a 3, I need to multiply by 2, make 2 groups of them in order to create the common denominator of 6. The problem is if you do it on one, you've got to do it on the other. So 3 times 2 is 6 on bottom, 2 times 2 is 4 on top. The other fraction is already common. Then I can add across the top. 4 plus 5 is 9. Technically, you're done adding, but we always go back to check if we can simplify. 6 and 9 both show up in my 3 list, meaning I can divide a 3 out of both of them. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. All right, we're just going to keep on rolling here. Number 4. Right now, I have denominators of 5 and 4. If you need to keep having that least common multiple conversation with yourself, then do it. 5, 10, 15, 20, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. The moment you see something show up in both lists, that will become your common denominator. That means because I need a 20 in that denominator, both of these fractions are going to have to change. So I'm going to rewrite them and give myself a little space. Remember, my goal here is to have a 20 on the bottom for both of them. Well, If I have 4, I needed 1, 2, 3, 4 groups to create 20. Multiply by 4, top and bottom. 4 times 4 is 16. 5 times 4 is 20. For my other fraction, where I had 4, it took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups. 4 times 5 gives me the 20. That means I need to multiply by that 5, top and bottom. Common denominator stays common, and subtract across the top. 16 minus 15 is 1. That one cannot be reduced, so we're done right there. 4 more examples of these, and then we will shift gears. Why don't you pause and try number 5 and 6? Now, if you already know what your common denominator should be, you can go straight to it. But for those of us who are still trying to catch on, let's keep making our least common multiple list. The denominator is what I care about. So I'm going to make list of 4 and list of 6 to see what they have in common. 4, 8, 12, 16, 6, 12. Oh, the moment something shows up in both lists, I'm ready for that common denominator. So give yourself some room. And my goal here is I need a 12 on bottom for both. Well, in my 6 list, it took 2 groups. So 6 times 2 is what gives me the 12. Top and bottom, 10 over 12. In my 4 list, it took 1, 2, 3 groups to get to 12. So 4 times 3 is 12. 3 times 3 is 9. Common denominator stays common. Subtract across the top. 10 minus 9 is 1. One more. Hopefully you have paused this video and tried it. Least common multiples. So for 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, I could keep going. In my 8 list, 8, 16, 24. Oh, look at that. 24 showed up twice. You could also be using your formula sheet to help you with this. So for that 6 and 8 list, find out what they have in common. Right there, 24. So that means I'm going to have to change both fractions so that I have 24 on bottom of both of them. In my 6 list, it took 1, 2, 3, 4 groups to get there. So multiply by 4, top and bottom. In my 8 list, it took 1, 2, 3 groups to get there. So multiply by 3, top and bottom. Once you have that common denominator stays common, and I subtract across the top. 20 minus 21 is a negative 1. Awesome. All right, the last 2 examples for this video. Ooh, we got triple fractions. Do you think that changes the process? Nope, it sure doesn't. It just means I have to find a common denominator for all 3 values. So I'm going to look for the least common multiples of 4, 3, and 2. So for my 4 list, 4, 8, 12, 16. For my 3 list, 3, 9, 12. Ooh, that's looking promising. For my 2 list, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. 12 shows up for all of them. So what that means, give yourself some space. All three of them are going to have to change. And I'm going to get all of them with a 12 underneath. So in my 4 list, it took 1, 2, 3 groups. So multiply by 3, top and bottom. In my 3 list, that one comes next. It took 1. Ooh, y'all, I made a mistake. I missed it, didn't I? 3, 6, 9, 12 before 12 shows up. Always good to check yourself. 3 times 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. 3 times 4 should have given me 12. Giving me a fraction of 4 over 12. And my 2 list, it took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 groups. 2 times 6 is 12. 6 times 1 is 6. Once you have that common denominator, take fractions 2 at a time. Common denominator stays common. Add across the top. 3 plus 4 is 7. Then bring down your third term. Common denominator stays common. 7 minus 6 is 1. I recommend that you pause and try that last example for this video. Assuming you've done that, least common multiples. I've got 5, 4, and 3 to deal with. So for my 5 group, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, right? I should keep going, but I don't know yet. 4, 8, 12, 16. I'm going to keep going until I see something show up in common. Oh, 20 shows up. If I go to my 3 list, though, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. Ooh, 20 didn't show up there. So maybe I should have kept going. 24, 28, 32. Man, this is getting kind of long, isn't it? If you find that you're having to get some really big numbers to get there, you can always put all of your denominators together. You can use 5 times 4 times 3 equals 60. So if you ever get to where your lists are getting too long, you can combine all 3 denominators, multiply them together, and use that as your common denominator. So once again, all of them are going to have to change. So give yourself some space. Common denominator here is going to be 60. So in my 5 row, let's come over here. In my 5 row, 60 shows up right here, which means I have to take my 5 and multiply it by 12 to get that common denominator. So 5 times 12 gives me the 60 on bottom. 3 times 12 is 36 on top. Now I look at my 4. Here's my 4 row. 60 shows up right here, which means I have to multiply by 15 to get that common denominator. 15 times 1, 4 times 15, 15 over 60. Last but not least, my 3 row. Here's my 60. Sorry, my computer keeps jumping. It means I need to multiply by 20 to get my common denominator. 5 times 20 is 100 over, y'all, over common denominator of 60. Now, first two. I have 36 minus 15 across the top, leaves me with 21. Plus the second one, common denominator stays common. Add across the top this time. 21 plus 100 is 121. This is what we call an improper fraction. In our next video, we're going to look at what to do with improper fractions and how to translate them into what's called a mixed number.